We're jumping straight into the heart of American literature today. We've got excerpts from Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn spread out in front of us.
Right.
Think of this as your rapid immersion into a crucial chunk of the story Huck's flight. The unforgettable con men, moments that'll make you think and maybe even chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal for you, the learner, is to pull out the essential insights and the genuinely entertaining bits from these chapters.
Kind of a shortcut through a big part of the novel.
Exactly. We're talking Huck's dramatic escape from his father's clutches all the way through the chaotic attempts to free Jim, packed with surprising turns and Twain's sharp wit.
And what's immediately striking, I think, is the sheer range of human experience Twain captures just in these sections.
Yeah.
We see Huck wrestling with really fundamental questions. How to break free from a destructive situation where his own sense of right and wrong comes from, and the often jarring realities of the world around him.
Okay, let's dive right into Huck's. Well, let's just say his home life wasn't exactly ideal.
Not exactly winning awards, no.
His pap is a fascinatingly awful character, isn't he?
All right, I've seen it.
One minute he's playing the reformed man for the judge,
Right, the whole show.
The next he's seeing all sorts of fantastical creatures in his drunken haze, snakes and devils, the whole 9 yards.
And the judge's attempt to reform him. That just collapses spectacularly.
Yeah, a nice thought that lasts about as long as it takes Pap to find another bottle and, end up with a broken arm?
Exactly. And this chaotic home environment is really the engine driving Huck's desire to escape.
It has to be.
Pap embodies everything Huck instinctively recoils from. Instability, violence, and just a complete absence of anything resembling care.
Yeah.
The failed attempts at reform really underscore just how deeply entrenched Pac's issues are.
Yeah.
It's not a quick fix.
And escape he does, in pretty spectacular fashion. He squirrels away Judge Thatcher's money for safekeeping first.
Smart move.
Decides he's had enough of Pap's erratic behavior and those mind-numbing political economy lessons.
No? Yeah.
And then stages this incredibly convincing fake death.
It's quite something.
We're talking a whole scene with hog's blood, a strategically placed canoe, all to make it look like he's been robbed and murdered.
Quite the dramatic exit for a young kid. It really is.
Yeah.
And that stage death is a real turning point. It's not just about getting away from Pap. It's about shedding the entire life he knows.
Cutting ties completely.
Right. He's cutting himself off from a world he finds oppressive and, frankly, dishonest at its core.
Now, fast forward a bit, and who should Huck stumble upon on Jackson's Island but Jim, Miss Watson's slave?
Talk about an unexpected pairing.
Totally. Jim has his own compelling reasons for leaving, reasons that these chapters sort of hint at, though they don't spell out every detail right away.
Mm-hmm. But the danger he's running from is definitely palpable. You feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Precisely. While we don't get all the specifics of Jim's escape immediately, the context of the era makes it crystal clear he's facing the very real and terrifying prospect of being sold further south or subjected to even harsher conditions.
Yeah.
Their meeting on the island is the catalyst that sets their whole intertwined journey in motion.
And their unlikely bond really takes root right there on that island. We get these vivid glimpses of their simple life, sleeping under the stars, foraging for food.
Building that trust.
And that slightly eerie discovery of the floating house.
Right.
With the dead man inside. It's almost like they're encountering the consequences of the world they've left behind, washing up on their shore.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder. And their shared isolation and reliance on each other forge a deep connection. They're both, in their own ways, outside the accepted norms of society.
Definitely.
And they find a sense of safety and maybe understanding in their companionship.
Yeah, floating house discovery, though. Quite a moment. Old Hank Bunker, indeed.
Yeah.
And talk about a hint of what's to come. Finding a dead body so early in their journey, it definitely throws a shadow over things, doesn't it?
It really does. Foreshadowing, maybe.
Then we have Huck's resourceful, if risky, impersonation of Sarah Williams to gather information back in town.
Oh, that's classic Huck.
That conversation with the woman is just a masterclass in Huck's quick thinking and how he has to invent on the fly when she starts drilling him about the supposed murder and the suspicion falling on Jem.
And his adaptability and talent for improvisation really come to the fore there.
Totally.
The Sarah Williams encounter highlights not only his sharp wit, but also his growing awareness of the very real dangers Jim faces simply because of who he is.
It really throws a harsh light on the ingrained prejudices of the time.
Absolutely.
Then their river voyage truly begins, with all the perils the Mississippi can throw at them, that storm they get caught in.
Oh, yeah. Intense.
The river seems determined to swallow them whole in the midst of the lightning and thunder.
It's like nature itself is testing them.
They're separated from the raft during a steamboat wreck, a genuinely nail-biting moment before thankfully finding their way back to each other.
Phew. Yeah. The river itself almost becomes a character in their story.
I agree.
It's a source of both immense danger and, the possibility of freedom, a force that separates them and then brings them back together. It really dictates the rhythm of their journey and constantly presents new obstacles.
And speaking of obstacles, or maybe just differences, their debate about Solomon and the baby.
Yes,
It seems like a small incident, maybe, but it really illuminates their contrasting worldviews.
it does.
Jim, despite his lack of formal schooling, brings this profound, grounded wisdom to the conversation. Don't talk to me about Solomon, Huck. I knows him by the back.
It's brilliant. You can't help but smile at that. And that seemingly minor disagreement actually reveals a fundamental difference in how they perceive truth and justice.
How so?
Well, Huck relies on received narratives, stories he's heard,
Right, the official version.
whereas Jim's understanding is deeply rooted in his own life's experiences and a strong innate sense of what's right, what makes practical sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. As they navigate the river, Cairo becomes this almost mythical destination, the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi.
Their gateway.
Their hoped-for gateway to Jim's freedom. We get this really touching glimpse into Jim's dream of working and saving to buy his family's freedom.
It's incredibly poignant.
And then there's Huck's internal battle, that real struggle within himself about aiding a runaway slave, something society tells him is absolutely wrong.
This internal conflict is absolutely central to Huck's moral evolution. It's maybe the core of the book.
I think you're right.
He's grappling with the societal norms he's been taught from childhood and the growing empathy he feels for Jim as a fellow human being. His agonizing decision of whether to betray Jim or help him. It's a powerful illustration of the novel's core themes of individual conscience versus societal pressure.
And their journey takes such a dark and frankly bizarre turn when they get entangled in the utterly senseless Grangerford-Shepardson feud.
Oh, that section. Wow.
Talk about families with issues. These folks are trapped in this endless cycle of violence and revenge.
For generation.
And the truly absurd part is young Buck Grangerford can't even articulate a coherent reason for it.
Nope. Just, it's the feud.
They just keep killing each other. And the scene in church, with everyone packing heat during the sermon.
It's almost comical if it weren't so tragic. It's chilling.
It really is.
The Grangerford-Shepardson feud is just a biting satire of blind adherence to tradition and the utter futility of violence for its own sake.
Right.
The fact that no one even remembers why they're fighting underscores how destructive it can be to simply follow established norms without any critical thought.
And the tragedy does indeed strike with devastating consequences. That whole sequence involving Buck, it's brutal, genuinely shocking.
Stays with you.
Huck's escape from that carnage is visceral and leaves a lasting impression. Just when you think things might calm down, bam!
Here they come.
Enter the Duke and the King, two of the most outrageously entertaining con artists you could ever imagine. They just waltz onto the raft and the scams begin instantly.
The arrival of the Duke and the King injects a really potent dose of satire and dark humor into the narrative.
Definitely dark.
They embody the opportunistic and exploitative side of human nature, preying on the vulnerabilities and desires of the people they encounter.
They certainly do. The King, with his ridiculously dramatic story of being a reformed pirate,
Oh, please.
and the Duke, with his equally far-fetched tale of noble lineage, it's so transparently false, yet people fall for it, hook, line, and sinker.
It's amazing what people will believe.
We get a whole parade of their scams, from the King's celebrated Dr. Armand de Montalban phrenology lecture
Phrenology.
to the Duke's self-proclaimed status as the world-renowned Shakespearean tragedian Garrick the Younger.
Garrick the Younger.
And let's not forget their truly dreadful rendition of Hamlet's soliloquy.
Painful. But these cons really expose the widespread ignorance and the tendency towards gullibility in the society Twain depicts.
Yeah, it's quite an indictment.
The Duke and the King are masters at manipulating people's yearning for entertainment, knowledge, and even a bit of supposed sophistication.
And then there's the infamous Royal Nonesuch. Oh boy.
Oh, and none such.
Talk about a performance that leaves the audience. Well, let's just say a hasty exit under the cover of darkness might have been the smartest move.
Definitely. Get out while you can.
The sheer audacity of those 3 nights of that so-called thrilling tragedy is a brilliant commentary on how pride and a reluctance to appear foolish can lead people to accept even the most blatant fraud.
The Royal Nun Such is particularly insightful because it shows the con artists at their most audacious and exploitative. It also highlights the fascinating psychology of crowds, that collective willingness to participate in a charade rather than admit to being fooled.
Yeah, mob mentality almost.
Sort of.
Even Jim, observing these two in action, offers his own astute commentary, comparing them to real historical kings like Henry VIII.
Right.
His conclusion that most royalty are just rapscallions is pretty spot on, especially after witnessing the Duke and the King's antics firsthand.
Jim's perspective provides a really grounded and insightful counterpoint to any romanticized notions of power and authority. His comparison to historical figures underscores the timeless potential for those in positions of power to be self-serving and exploitative. Nothing new under the sun, really.
Their most elaborate and arguably most reprehensible con, though, has to be the Wilkes family scheme.
Ugh, yeah, that one's tough.
Impersonating the long-lost brothers of the deceased Peter Wilkes, it's audacious, it's greedy, and it's deeply unsettling. The way they manipulate the grieving Wilkes sisters, particularly Mary Jane.
It's just stomach-turning.
The fake displays of grief at the funeral, the ridiculously over-the-top accents. It's a truly appalling spectacle.
And the Wilkes family episode really serves as a powerful indictment of societal hypocrisy and sentimentality.
How so?
It reveals how easily genuine grief and vulnerability can be exploited by those with selfish intentions, and it highlights the dangers of taking appearances at face value. Trusting too easily.
But this is the turning point where Huck's conscience really kicks into high gear. You see it happening.
Wait up.
He witnesses Mary Jane's genuine sorrow and recognizes the profound injustice of the situation, and he decides he simply cannot stand by and allow these charlatans to rob them blind.
He draws a line.
His risky plan to expose them, hiding the money in the coffin, talk about a gamble.
High stakes poker right there.
And then, of course, the unexpected arrival of the real Wilkes brothers throws the whole situation into utter pandemonium.
Absolute chaos.
That chaotic scene with the handwriting samples and the exhumation of the body, it's almost farcical, but with incredibly high stakes for Huck.
Huck's growing moral discomfort and his active decision to intervene mark a significant step in his development. He's choosing to act based on his own evolving sense of right and wrong.
Yeah.
Even when it directly contradicts the prevailing societal norms and puts him in considerable danger, he's sticking his neck out.
After that incredibly close call, the Duke and King reveal their true depths of depravity by betraying Jim and selling him.
Ugh. Just when you think they can't sink lower.
It's a real gut punch in the narrative, and it's this act that leads to Huck's ultimate moral crisis, culminating in that famous declaration, "All right then, I'll go to hell."
Such a powerful moment.
In that moment, he definitively chooses his loyalty to Jim over what he's been taught is the correct and socially acceptable course of action. Damn the consequences.
That declaration is arguably the emotional and thematic climax of these chapters, maybe the whole book for Huck's journey.
I could see that.
Huck's willingness to defy the deeply ingrained social and even religious beliefs of his time in order to stand by Jim is a powerful testament to the moral compass he has developed through their shared experiences and his own capacity for empathy.
Which brings us to the Phelps farm.
Oh boy.
And the level of absurdity just gets cranked up to 11.
If not 12.
Huck's mistaken identity as Tom Sawyer sets the stage for a whole new level of ridiculousness.
It's like a comedy of errors, but with serious undertones.
And then, unbelievably, the real Tom shows up, and instead of simply revealing the truth, he decides to play along with this elaborate, utterly nonsensical plan to rescue Jim.
Tom Sawyer's arrival introduces a fascinating contrast to Huck's more grounded and practical approach, right?
Night and day.
Tom's actions are driven by a romanticized view of adventure, a desire to meticulously follow the plots he's read in books.
Halfway's the books.
Even when those plots are completely impractical and ultimately cause unnecessary suffering and delay for Jim.
Because it ain't in the books, so that becomes Tom's justification for everything.
Exactly.
From the agonizingly slow process of digging Jim out with case knives, which takes forever, to creating a rope ladder hidden in a pie.
A pie? Seriously?
And the introduction of rats and snakes into Jim's already cramped shed. Poor Jim.
It's almost cruel the way Tom treats it like a game.
He endures it all with remarkable patience, occasionally offering a very reasonable, "can we maybe not do this?" which, of course, is completely ignored.
Of course, Tom's got his script.
And Sally's utter bewilderment at all the missing household items is pure comedic gold, though. The missing spoons, the sheet.
She's losing her mind. And the extended and farcical rescue sequence at the Phelps farm serves as a pointed satire of romantic heroism and the dangers of blindly applying idealized literary tropes to real-world situations.
Yeah.
Tom's unwavering insistence on doing things by the book highlights the stark difference between his fanciful notions of adventure and the very real human cost of their actions.
Things take a serious turn when Tom gets shot during one of their harebrained schemes.
Right. Reality bites back.
And in that moment, Jim's profound humanity shines through once again. Despite the very real threat to his own freedom, he absolutely refuses to leave without ensuring Tom receives medical attention.
Yeah, he won't abandon him.
I don't budge a step at misplaced at a doctor, not if it's 40, and it's an incredibly powerful act of selflessness.
Jim's unwavering commitment to Tom's well-being, even at great personal risk, underscores the depth of his character and the genuine bond that is developed between him and Huck.
It really does.
His actions stand in stark contrast to the often selfish and manipulative behavior they've encountered from many of the supposedly civilized white characters throughout the journey.
And finally, the grand reveal. Aunt Polly arrives.
The cavalry.
The mistaken identities are sorted out, and we learn the astonishing truth. Miss Watson had already freed Jim in her will.
Months ago.
So all of Tom's elaborate rescue was completely unnecessary.
Utterly pointless from a practical standpoint.
And incredibly, Tom knew it all along. He was just in it for the adventure.
Talk about a twist. That really reframes Tom's actions, doesn't
It
it?
really does. We also find out that Huck's pap has finally met his end, that body in the floating house.
Closure on that front.
And Jim, ever the optimist, points out that his hairy breast, a sign of future wealth, and his superstitions has indeed come true with his liberation.
He was right all along.
Tom, ever the adventurer, is already making plans for their next escapade in the Indian Territory. Some things never change.
No kidding. The final revelations bring a sense of closure to this particular episode, but they also leave us contemplating the true meaning of freedom and the underlying motivations behind Tom's seemingly thoughtless actions.
Right.
While Jim is legally free, the larger societal issues that led to his enslavement persist. And Tom's immediate desire for further adventure suggests a certain level of immaturity and perhaps a failure to fully grasp the profound significance of Jim's situation. He hasn't learned what Huck has.
So what are the key takeaways as we wrap up this deep dive? We've witnessed Huck's powerful journey away from the toxic influence of his father and the restrictive expectations of society.
Definitely. A journey of self-discovery.
We've seen his moral compass develop and solidify through his deep connection with Jim, a stark contrast to the hypocrisy and cruelty they encounter in the wider world.
That bond is central.
And we've certainly experienced a roller coaster of surprising and often humorous events, thanks in no small part to the outrageous cons of the Duke and the King and Tom's wildly impractical rescue schemes.
It's quite a ride. These excerpts offer a brilliant exploration of fundamental themes. The yearning for freedom on both a personal and societal level, the complex nature of morality and how it can clash with social norms,
Big time.
the pervasive hypocrisy that can underpin seemingly respectable society, and ultimately the profound and transformative power of genuine human connection that transcends superficial barriers.
Well said.
The contrast between Huck's evolving moral code, rooted in empathy for Jim, and Tom's adherence to romantic ideals, really highlights Twain's critique of societal norms versus genuine human connection as the true measure of ethical behavior.
All right. The learner, here's a final thought to consider. Think about the radically different approaches Huck and Tom take to freeing Jim. Huck is driven by a deep-seated empathy and a personal conviction to right or wrong, even if it means going against everything he's been taught. All right, then, I'll go to hell.
Risking everything.
Tom, on the other hand, is motivated by the thrill of adventure and a romanticized idea of heroism he's absorbed from books, seemingly without fully considering the real human being at the center of it all.
That's all a game to him.
So what do these contrasting motivations tell us about the complexities of growing up, truly understanding responsibility, and recognizing the inherent value of another person's life? It's something to really ponder.